Anyway, let's get to Andy Surabian. Now, the last time you heard Andy, I was in Trump Tower, and it was Election Day. And Andy came out. He was supposed to be on for a couple of minutes, and we went on and on. We had a great time. He was a operative in the Trump campaign. He's now a senior advisor for the Ed Rollins PAC. Great America Alliance. Andy, good to have you with us today here, live in Montgomery on the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Hey, John, thanks so much for having me. It's great to talk to you again.
Now, your take on the Roy Moore victory last night. And Andy, McConnell and Karl Rove and the establishment, get this, they spent about $170 a vote last night. They spent $34 million. They got 200,000 votes. $170 a vote and got crushed. What do you make of it, Andy?
Last night was a rejection of Mitch McConnell. That's pure, that's simple, that's all. That's what it was. At the end of the day, the people of Alabama stood up and they said, Mitch McConnell, you cannot buy our election. Mitch McConnell, we are not ready to hand our senator over to you. We do not want him to be beholden to you and your special interests. That's really what happened yesterday. And I'm listening to you, and you have this thing completely right. Guys like Bob Corker, guys like Mitch McConnell, they care about two things, John. They care about two things. They care about getting elected, and then they care about getting reelected. And the second they don't think they can do that, they run and cower. And that's what we saw, I think, with Bob Corker. But what happened in Alabama, where we both are today, last night, is truly monumental. Because with all the money being spent against Judge Roy Moore, for him to power through that and win by over 10 points, it really says something about the people of Alabama. It says that they're smart, they're not going to be fooled, and they're ready to take their country back.
And, Andy, what about the depth of the victory? I mean, this was not 52-48 or a couple of percent.
Right.
I mean, this was an old-fashioned beatdown, right?
Listen, I was calling it a stomping last night. You can call it a beatdown. What it was a major loss for the establishment. It was a loud signal from the people of Alabama. I think actually for the rest of the country. I mean, the people of Alabama, they understood. If you talk to them, they understood that this race was bigger than just Judge Moore versus Luther Strange. They understood that this race represented the tipping point in the war against the establishment across the country. And now, I said it in Breitbart the other day, the floodgates are now open. And that's why this is so important, because when a guy like Judge Moore can win a race like that, even in the face of millions and millions of dollars in false negative attacks, it shows other candidates who might not have the most money, who might not have the biggest donors behind them, that if Judge Moore can do it, well then hell, maybe I can do it too.
What did he get outspent in totality? About what? Almost 10-15 to 1, didn't he? I mean,
yeah,
it was a huge margin.
It was absolutely amazing. I asked one of the Judge Moore staffers, if you include what the candidate raised himself with all, and then include all of the outside groups backing Judge Moore, what did you guys raise? And he said, well, somewhere between $2 and $3 million. Well, Senate Leadership Fund alone, which is the Mitch McConnell aligned super PAC, they spent over $9 million just themselves, this one group. The chamber spent seven figures for Luther Strange. NRA spent seven figures for Luther Strange. They had all these heavy hitters coming in and trying to lie about the judge. I mean, that's their playbook. Their playbook is to use their money to lie, smear, and trick the voters. And why do they think they can get away with that? Because at the end of the day, these elites, they think the voters across the country are stupid. They think they're rubes. They think I can play my TV ad, I can say whatever I want on that TV ad, and they're going to believe it. And yesterday, I think the voters in Alabama proved that they're smarter than the consultants in D.C.
I thought last night as a really shot in the arm for the movement. What you saw last night also is you really saw a revolution. And you know what was interesting, Andy? Being at the Judge Moore headquarters last night, what was there, maybe 200 people there, right? 250, maybe?
Right.
But these were people who came from work. I mean, maybe out of the 250, maybe 25 people had jackets and ties on or suits on, right? I mean, these are people that just came from their jobs. It was a very different crowd.
It was a blue collar crowd. It wasn't a crowd of Washington hacks, as I like to say. It was a crowd of true Americans, of people who work 9 to 5, of people who are taking care of their families. These are just average citizens, and they cared passionately about Judge Moore. They really believed in Judge Moore. And why did they really believe in Judge Moore? We have to ask that question. The reason they believed in Judge Moore is because when they hear a guy like Judge Moore talk, they can tell they're getting the truth. They can tell they're not getting spun. They can tell they're not getting lied to. It's actually very similar to what supporters of Donald Trump saw in him when he ran in 2016.
Exactly, and he also got outspent. I mean, I tell everybody in the race on Super Tuesday in Virginia, I was head of the Trump campaign, and we got outspent by Marco Rubio, something like 30-1, and still beat him. I mean, money doesn't matter if you can get your message out in the right way. And I tell you what, last night, we're going to remember it for a very long time. I've only got a minute, Andy. I know you got to take off. Final thing is the results last night, in your judgment, going to spur primary challenges to Washington establishment swamp creatures in 2018 in a big way?
The swamp has been put on notice. And that's the key to this entire thing. I mean, listen, the first domino fell yesterday before the first vote was even counted in Alabama when Corker retired. So, yes, this is going to spur a series of serious primary challengers, not against every Republican, but against the key swamp monsters up for re-election. I think guys like Roger Wicker in Mississippi better be very nervous. The big never-Trumper, Jeff Flake in Arizona, and the other never-Trumper, Dean Heller in Nevada. I'll just say this. I hope none of them have long-term leases in Washington, D.C.
All right, Andy, we're out of time. Really want to thank Andy for taking some time with us. He's the new senior advisor at the Great American Alliance. That's a political action committee run by Ed Rollins, and he's also associated with Breitbart. Andy, thanks for being with us, man.